Today I'm going to be sharing my shiny failure stories. The shinies I'm going to be talking about aren't ones from my videos, as they were found before I started shiny hunting. Back in the day, I would do a lot of playthroughs of Pokemon games. Once I beat one, I'd just restart one of my other games and play it again because I love to try out different Pokemon on my teams. Of course, with so many playthroughs, I was obviously encountering a lot of wild Pokemon, and I happened to come across 2 different shinies during my playthroughs. Unfortunately, they happened to appear at bad times, and I was unsuccessful at capturing either of them. So here are the stories of the 2 lost shinies of my childhood. Also, stick around to the end because I'm throwing in 2 bonus stories of shinies I failed in Pokémon Rumble, and let me just say, the ways I failed those are pretty freaking hilarious. Anyway, story number 1 takes place around 2009 or so, a little before Platinum came out in North America. I was playing my Diamond version, which I had already completed, but I was looking for anything I may have missed in the post-game locations. I was just doing some surfing around on Route 230, which is the route to the east of the fight area. I was just slowly going along, and I mean slowly, when suddenly I came across a green Pelipper. I was absolutely stoked because this is the first shiny I had ever encountered, and I had always wanted to find one. Yes, I was one of those kids who actually knew about shinies. I didn't know too much about them aside from the fact that they're differently colored Pokemon that are super rare, but it was enough not to shut off my game thinking it was some game-breaking glitch. The problem though, is that all of the Pokemon in my party were super high leveled, so I didn't want to risk knocking it out. That means all I could do is throw Pokeballs at it and hope one caught. Now, I could be remembering this wrong, but I swear I had like 50 balls with me, including quite a few Ultra Balls and maybe even a couple Timer Balls. So I must have had the worst luck in the world or something because I threw ball after ball and not a single one caught it. And for those wondering, I used the Master Ball on Dialga. Yeah, I was one of those people. So unfortunately, that meant that I had to knock out the very first shiny I ever found. I don't have that file anymore, but I remember that I marked the area with the star thingy on my Pokétch to symbolize that I found a shiny there, and sometimes I would even go back there and encounter a few Pokemon in hopes of coming across that green Pelipper once again, but unfortunately I never did. And that brings us to story number 2. Now you may recognize this one if you've seen my top 5 Pokemon that bring back memories video, because I told a brief version of this story there. This one takes place a few years after the Pelipper, around 2011 or 2012. This time I was playing through my Leaf Green, and I wanted to use a Kangaskhan on my team. Kangaskhan can only be found in the Safari Zone, so I received my Safari Balls and began my search. Now back then, I didn't know too much about the Safari Zone, so I had no clue which areas which Pokemon were found in, so I was going to all the different areas seeing if I could come across a Kangaskhan. After a little while of doing this, I found that I was having quite a bit of success in Area 2, so I stayed there for a while. However, despite the fact that I was encountering a decent amount of Kangaskhan, I still hadn't caught one after several hours. After a while, I got fed up with Area 2 and decided to start rotating between the areas again, until I noticed that I was encountering quite a few Chansey in Area 3. Now at that point, my team was a bit underleveled and I wanted to do some grinding before fighting Koga, so I figured, hey, why not try to get a Lucky Egg too while I'm here? So I stayed in Area 3 for a while, trying to see what I could get first, a Kangaskhan or a Lucky Egg. Thing is, like I said before, I didn't know too much about which Pokemon were found in which areas, and it just so happens that you can't find Kangaskhan in that area at all. I guess I thought I ran into one there at some point, so I just stuck around and threw balls at all the Chansey I could find. I didn't find a Lucky Egg, and of course I didn't find a Kangaskhan, but after a while I encountered none other than a shiny Chansey. I absolutely flipped out, screaming with a combination of joy and fear. I knew that I had just stumbled upon one of the rarest shiny Pokemon of all time, and I knew that my chances of catching it were slim to none. Because of that, I just stared at my game for several minutes straight, not wanting to let go of this precious find. After a while though, I decided that the best thing to do was just throw balls and hope for the best, and that's exactly what I did. From what I remember, it shook once or twice, and stayed for a couple turns, but eventually, the Chansey ran away, never to be seen again. Or so I thought.
A few years later.
Whoa! Shiny Chansey! 1%! What the? What? And those are the stories of my shiny Pokemon failures. But as I said before, now here are some bonus stories of some hilarious shiny fails in Rumble. The first one takes place around 2013 or 2014. I was doing some Rumble shiny hunting, and I encountered a shiny Licky Licky in Windy Prairie. I wanted to get a picture to document the shiny and show my friends, but I didn't have an SD card in my Wii, so I decided to just take a picture with my camera instead. However, it was the middle of the day and there was a massive glare on my TV from the windows next to it, so it was impossible for me to get a good picture. However, I had a solution. I set my Wii remote down on my couch and hung a blanket over the windows to cover up the light. It worked, and I was about to get a picture, but as I was standing on my couch, I moved the cushions and my Wii remote fell between the cushion and the end of the couch. I got off the couch to go grab it, and the buttons on the remote pressed against the couch and somehow just so happened to press the exact button combination needed to press go to terminal. I had left the area and the shiny licky licky was no more. And now, Rumble fail number 2. If you thought that it couldn't get any worse than that, well, yeah, you're probably right. However, this one still comes pretty close. This happened earlier this year during a shiny hunting event called Rumble Weekend. For those who haven't heard of it, the name is pretty self-explanatory. It's a weekend where a bunch of us shiny hunters do some hunting in Pokémon Rumble. I was in the fiery furnace trying to find a shiny Flareon, for obvious reasons, when I came across a shiny Rapidash instead. This was my 6th shiny Rapidash in Rumble, so I was pretty disappointed but still wanted to get a picture. Once again, I didn't have an SD card in my Wii, but this time I decided to just take the one out of my camera and put it in. So after getting the SD card, I needed to open up the compartment on the front of the Wii, because that's where the SD card slot is. So I picked up the Wii and went to open it up, but while doing so, one of my fingers accidentally hit the power button. Bye bye shiny Rapidash, but like I said, it was my 6th one, so it really wasn't a big loss. I'm just glad it wasn't something I didn't have yet like the Flareon I was going for. And that just about wraps up this video. I hope you enjoyed the stories, and if you want to see more content from me, then you can click on one of the videos right here.